Good day, good day, good day. And I would like to welcome everyone to another moment or two with All for Success. And there's an extra X there just to remind you that we might veer off and talk about other things, even though this is a Sussex friendly space. And sometimes we just chat about all things Sussex, but every now and then you have to bring in maybe what's going on in the current world and kind of see how they fit together, depending on what your perspectives are. So I want to welcome all of you again this Saturday morning to All for Success. I'm so glad to see all of you kind of slowly coming in. And as we always begin, please hit the like button, like, and always share and subscribe if you get the chance. I believe there is a notification bell on my page so that you can tap it. You might want to tap in on that every now and then because, from what I understand out here in YouTube land, periodically people don't get notifications when someone is about to go online or if they upload something new. Now, if you're like me, I can't keep up with them anyway, but please hit the notifications, share, like, and subscribe because it does help in the background with how the numbers work. All right, all right. So, as always on a Saturday morning, if you're getting ready to run some errands, or if you haven't sat down this morning and have your coffee, gather up your coffee, get your stuff set up so that you can sit and listen, or you can plug in your headphones and run an errand or two while we are chatting. Probably by the time I wrap it up, you'll be done with whatever you were getting ready to work on. Yeah? Now, isn't that exciting? So let's all do that. Yay. I just like to always put that out there. All right. So I am going to say up top that I am a little bit, not under the weather. I feel fine, but I'm just a little bit slower moving this morning, a little bit groggy. I don't know if you all ever experienced that. It's that feeling that you have maybe when you want to get perked up with a cup of coffee, or if you just feel a little bit sluggish. That's how I felt this morning. So I'm going to say up front, it might influence perhaps the energy that I may have as we go through some of the things I wanted to talk about today. And I just wonder if many of you ever feel that way. If you do, just throw a one in the comment section. Just hoping it's not only me. But I did get out a little bit last night. I went out to see a band, so I was out a little bit later than I usually am, even for a Friday night. But I'm going to try to get my coffee down, and maybe that'll perk me up. So let's hope that goes into the way we're going. Now, while I'm getting ready to switch over and you guys are making your coffee, I'm going to place in the chat that I did bike ride each day. Here, I just want you to know I did bike ride each day for about, I'm going to say 20 minutes. And it's really great exercise for me. And I encourage each of you, if you are on a fitness journey of any type, to get out there and really keep that up. Here at this Sussex friendly space, my perspective is from that of a parent of adult children. In other words, I am the Miss Doria in this chat space. So I like to let you know that when we're at the age level of being parents of adult children, we need to take a little bit more care of our physicality. So you need to eat well, you need to rest well, and you definitely need to keep moving. Exercise is important, no matter how stiff you feel. You have to get that in. So I want you all to put in the chat also to encourage each other on different things to do in the exercise space. All right. This is like a classroom, so I'm going to encourage you to do that every time I come on, right? It's kind of the ABCs of fitness. All right, so let's get to some of the things that I might mention this week, things that we may have seen. We may have seen a few things happening over the past week. We might not have, it depends on which couple of days you're looking at. From where I am, there are a lot of moving pieces in the daily, day-to-day news. The noise is incredible. The media is pouring out second by second, minute by minute storylines about different things that are happening. And without getting into all of those details, I'm going to kind of go backwards. So we went from one of the most recent was a reported assassination attempt on one of our candidates here in the US for our presidency. And that candidate that was attempted assassination against Donald Trump. Now, whether you are a fan of Donald Trump or not a fan of Donald Trump, you know that you're living in a world that is crazy when someone can just come out of nowhere and threaten your life. That is just not how we want to live. That is one of the most remarkable things about being a citizen of the world, is that you daily wish to go about your day-to-day business without being accosted, attacked, or just all out murdered for no reason. Oh, I shouldn't have said that out loud, I don't think, on YouTube. But you don't want negative things to happen to you out of nowhere. No one wants that. I mean, it is one of the key reasons in the United States that they speak so, I'm going to say, that they sell the idea of capitalism so much, because it is in this capitalistic type of environment that will allow for commerce, which is people going about their business daily, buying and selling all day, every day. That is the structure upon which our world is built. Open commerce. Well, in that environment, and I'm, of course, looking at it as if I were looking at it from big government, in order to have people constantly buying and selling and constantly shopping and spending and going out to eat and going to the malls, people have to feel safe in order to do that, right? For me to say today, you know what, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to buy my groceries. I'm going to spend upwards of $200 or so in that event. Well, my government, my world, our community, this environment, they want that to be promoted, right? They want that to be supported. And so what they have tried to do is make sure that under no circumstances would I be blocked from going about my business, spending money, buying things, and going out to eat. And this environment means you have to feel safe, right? And a lot of times I believe that many people don't even realize that often that is what is behind the need for law enforcement in our areas. You know, I often think of old movies that I've watched, or just the knowledge of old environments. You know, back in the olden days, there were places where if you were traveling between cities, there were bandits on the highway. You know, you could you might get in your wagon train, right? Or you're riding horseback and you're going to travel maybe 50 miles to go, I don't know, trade your horses or trade your cows or trade your sheep. But there was a time, even in the history of the United States, when if you got on the road and you were going to ride down 50 miles to make a trade or do something, you might be subject to bandits coming out of the bushes and robbing you of everything you had. Well, look at what that would do. That would take your money out of your pocket. It would cause you a problem. But if you were going to sell something to someone else who was going to make even more money, right? Like you were going to sell the wool from your sheep and the guy who was going to buy it was going to make clothing. Now you've interrupted and disrupted an entire chain of commerce, right? So over the years, over all of these centuries, systems that operate like ours, based on commerce, it became very obvious that they simply could not afford to have people running wild in their world, creating havoc and not allowing other people to go about their day-to-day business. That just became a negative thing. It just doesn't work. Okay, so enough of that history lesson, right? But therein lies the problem. So even in our environment, we have people who are politicians, they're running for office, they want to become the leader in whatever type of environment they're working in. And there is one thing that we really had to try our best to remove from that endeavor. And that was if you stepped forward, raised your hand, and volunteered to do something, that it meant people were going to target you and try to take you out. That is definitely not what our country is trying to promote. Although it does happen here, right? And it has happened in the past. But it doesn't send a very good message to our friends and allies around the world. It's just not a good message to imply that you live in total chaos and that everyone is in fear of their lives at every moment. Who wants that? And that again is an additional reason why no one is interested in trying to hype up all of the conflicts that we may have and all of the differences that we may have in our politics. We're not trying to hype that up to the place where you feel like you've got to go out and beat up your neighbor or terrorize people in your day to day in order to have your way. That is just not what our country is supposed to be about. And in this country, that exact behavior would do nothing but constantly disrupt commerce. And the key to our success is commerce. So that's a problem. Like we can't, here in the United States, we don't have time to be at war with each other if it's going to mess up business. Okay. And that is important in the US. They're not interested in having business disrupted. So conflict will disrupt business. And we're not looking for that. Right. So with that, that being the background of today, that was part of the news. And then we've had debates that made people really nervous because they're like, ugh, these people's performance, the performances were really terrible. But in a sense, even with all of those things going on, even with all of those new happenings, in a sense, most people have a direction of what they believe in, and they have a direction in what they support. And it's interesting because I do think that as the chaos level may rise, as intense as the chaos may become, I believe that it might create a situation that at the individual level, we have to pay closer attention to staying focused. So that's what we're going to do here, right? All right, so get up and get out, everybody. Get out there and do your exercises if you're going to do that, and make sure you stay fit. And let us know in the chat, of course, what your fitness journey might be. Hey, I might try some of the things you all talk about. someone mentioned Pilates, and I've definitely given that a choice, that a try, because oh my gosh, I'm so stiff. So I think Pilates might help. I don't know how long it takes to limber up all of these creaking bones, but I'm going to work on it. So anyway, we're still in the summer, and let's go back to our wonderful family, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their family, and the things that they've got going on the table. We're still waiting for American Riviera Orchard to get out here and expose itself. There are little things dripping here and there. Not sure how this is going to work out, but I have a feeling it's just going to be kind of something that eases out into the public, maybe without too much fanfare, just enough to let us know it's there, and then everyone will jump on it in course. And that's what we're looking for out of our wonderful Sussex family. And they seem to be just moving along. And what we did have recently was the wonderful awards ceremony wherein Prince Harry received the Pat Tillman Award. We did go over that. So they're still coming down from that moment because that moment was wonderful, right? We have no problem ignoring the bucket of naysayers that are trying to rain on that parade. We don't have any problem ignoring the 5 or 10 minutes of people trying to bring down the wonderful high that was created by his speech alone, right? And how he said in that speech, which was wonderful, that we are all in this together, right? We all have to continue to work together because we are definitely all in this together. But that speech was the highlight, and the wonderful clips from the Invictus Games itself was also fantastic. And I look forward to all of the different Invictus, I would say, documentary snips where they're featuring various personnel who are active in the sport, because we learn so much about their lives. I definitely want to know how Gabe is doing. I don't know if you all remember, he is the gentleman that was featured who had lost an arm, but he was an intense individual and driven to try to continue to move around and keep himself active. So that is what I would like to know about. And I believe he started featuring people playing pickleball in various areas. So if you're interested in that, which is like table tennis to me, but he also was going to go out and about and introduce pickleball to different people. So that's always fun to hear that he's doing well. But we're going to stay on the high from that wonderful experience where Harry went out and did that, and he got the ESPYs. Now, in the meantime, we're going to stand, we're kind of in a holding position because now it's being trickled out that we'll probably see them again at an awards ceremony, which is actually being held for Tyler Perry. We're getting more and more details about that, but Mr. Perry is about to be honored for an award himself. And so it is said, it is being trickled out that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will be there. So everyone is looking forward to that. I know I'm excited. And I know same thing with Mr. Tyler Perry. He gets his negatives and the naysays, but what he's doing and what he is achieving, that cannot be denied. So that is the place that Harry and Meghan are also fitting in. You're going to be doing a lot of things. You're going to be doing and succeeding in many of the things that you do. But what it's going to bring along with it are the people who will try to ride on the wave of your success in order to pursue their own interests, right? They're the people who the reason that they exist and the reason that they have anyone's attention is from the fact that they speak negatively about people who are doing wonderful things and wonderful work. So that's where we are again with the Sussex family. Now, it's also reported that little Archie had a birthday. Now, I would love to see current pictures of him because he's actually 5 years old. Can you believe that, folks? I cannot believe that much time has gone by. But this little boy is almost about to start school, folks. Where have we been? Where have we been? When I look at Harry and Meghan, I still see newlyweds. You know, I still see a couple that just got married. But these two folks have two children, and the little boy is already 5. So I think that makes the sweet little darling Lilibet probably what, 2 or 3? I've got to check back to find out where she is, but I know she's up and walking and practically dressing herself. And that is amazing as well. These children are growing so fast. Oh, for me, that is absolutely awful. I wanted them to stay little for a whole lot longer. But you know what? Time sure flies. Now, I will tell you guys, um, we saw him receive the Pat Tillman Award. Many of the people who had received the Pat Tillman Award supported him in this endeavor, and they support him in all of the work that he does. The things that the UK tabloid media try to express is that Harry and Meghan, you're supposed to simply think bad things about them no matter what. Now, what's happening, I think, which is beautiful, is that it is becoming more and more apparent to people from everywhere, all over, looking in, that there is something truly wrong and deficient about the UK tabloid media, along with the UK royal family monarchy. Everyone who is paying attention can see it. You are seeing more and more media attention being given to some of the Republic movements, which is in the UK, the Republic movement is an monarchy movement. They are really interested in disbanding the monarchy. There was an incident that I thought you all would find interesting where, since they just recently had an election, there was an individual who was going to swear in to Parliament, and they generally give you the choice of saying some type of an affirmation or repeating some type of an allegiance to the king and his family, right? Well, there was one of the gentlemen in that was featured who he opted to not say that oath, right? But he found later that he was not going to be allowed to sit in his seat in Parliament until he gave that oath. So, what that did is it brought a lot of attention and a lot of news to the fact that they still have to take this oath to the king, right, and his descendants in order to take their seat in Parliament. And so it was interesting to watch the Republic respond to that. Okay. But yes, if that's, we're going to look in on that a little bit more because that means that you have more people actually seating in Parliament nowadays, more people coming up in that system that are truly indifferent to the monarchy as it exists. And that is going to have a serious effect. All right. Well, with that being out of the way, with what's been happening in the background, here's something else that's going to be coming up in the forefront. And I want to I want to warn you all. Did any of you guys have an opportunity to read Omid Scobie's book, the one that came out recently, wherein everyone was trying to figure out who was going to be named the royal racist? If you had a chance to read that book, please just go ahead and put a one in the chat or a thumbs up just to let me know that you're out there and that you did read the book. we we love to know what you how far along you are in keeping track with what might be going on with all of these different personalities. But if you had a chance to read that book, he talked very casually about how things worked around the Royal Rota. Omid Scobie being part of that royal, I guess, interview squad, a news team that was working there in Buckingham Palace as well as Kensington Palace, he started to write, in details how things worked, what their chain of command was like, and some of the different activities and events that were around people who followed the royal family about in order to report on what the stories were in and around the royal family. Well, what is fantastic and what we're about to see is that Omid Scobie and these some of his partners have started to feature the writing of what will probably be like a movie type version of that lifestyle, right? So they're going to do a fictionalized version of a person coming from the US that worked in media, but they end up working for the royal family, kind of with the royal family PR teams. And so they're going to kind of loosely base a movie around this. Well, guys, let's ask ourselves, how much of this do you think will be fictional, and how much of it do you think will be layered on top of what will be factions, right? Factual information. So we are totally excited to see this production, but I can guarantee you that the UK and the royal family would not be, because I believe Omid Scobie, he gained an insight, and I believe that insight led him to some really, I would say, exclusive information on the way they behave and they operate. The different types of stories that they develop, the leaking, and all of these type of things that they do for PR. Now, if any of you are watching what's going on in and around the UK and the family, what they're doing is slowly peeling back the activity of many of the royal family members. Well, some of it is due to their announced health issues, right? Because now you have the king and his health issue that we know about. He has announced his cancer diagnosis. You understand that Princess Catherine, same thing, something similar. So she's going to be in and out of her royal duties. And then you had one of the most key personnel, Princess Anne, who is now being peeled back due to her own health issues, right? And so when it comes to the names of the other personalities, Sophia, Edward, and all the, you never heard much about what they were doing anyway. They were already in the background, right? So all of these people who were key figures, who were trying to push ahead and be seen more, now they're slowly being pulled back, pulled back slowly. And you're being told now that, well, they won't make as many engagements, or they're going to do a lot less when they engage. And that's where we're operating from now. And of course, there is no doubt that this would happen, because they made their competition, they made the Sussex family their competition. So they tried to make Harry and Meghan the oppositional party to what they were doing, without understanding that they couldn't possibly keep up with the pace that these two people were used to, right? But they were going to try. And I believe after these 5 years or more, I think they're beginning to realize that what Harry and Meghan are doing, they simply cannot just jump out and do. So what they're trying to do is to pretend to do it, right? They're trying to pretend articles, pretend stories that they're doing these things. But if you look for the results, you see that there are none, right? And so that's what's causing a problem. So Omid Scobie and his team, they got optioned to have this movie developed. I think this is going to be exciting. It's going to be fun to watch. And I think it's going to be perhaps the Crown like. However, it's going to be more of the underbelly and the inner workings of the media and the royal media machine that is around this family. So I think it's going to be entertaining, especially if you already enjoyed watching The Crown and those type of shows. This should be fun, but I guarantee you that much of it, although it's going to be listed as fictional, it's definitely going to be based, loosely based on what is reality. And that is without a doubt. So let's stand by. We're going to have fun with that. I'm excited to see that coming up. And then we'll get a chance to check it out and enjoy watching it. All right. Okay. So as I promised you guys, I don't plan to be here long. I don't plan to be here long. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to see who is in the chat real quick and give a chance to say good morning to everyone who is here. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. All right, all right, all right. Okay, so if you had a chance, now you guys got to hop me some comments. That way I'll know what I'm reading, okay? So I see my own comments, and then I'm going to say, thank you, and good morning to King for Concept. She says, hello, everyone. Well, hello to you, and thank you so much for being here at All for Success. I appreciate you coming in, and I hope you're keeping up your fitness trials. I'm excited to see it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Once again, we have super squatties in the house. Thank you so much. All for Success. Hello from Connie Balmer. I am so glad to see you here. It is wonderful, wonderful pleasure that you have the opportunity to stop in and participate. I'm so glad. It really makes my day to see you guys come by. All right. We also have Joyce Anderson is saying, I can't wait for Scobie. You know what? Yes, me too. Another super squatty in the house. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support as well. Yeah, I think that this movie might be fun. I think it's going to create a lot of havoc. And every day, probably everything that you're looking at in the show, you're going to ask yourself, oh my gosh, could that really have happened? And I believe that's what this show is going to put forward. An opportunity to be regaled by the things that we didn't think were going to happen, but that they're going to show the twists and the turns and a lot of the, I'm sure, intrigue behind decisions that are made in and around the royal family. Now, my question will be, are they going to keep it in modern day, or are they going to perhaps do some type of storyline where they might drift back and refer to things in the past? But I think it's going to be intriguing because it's going to follow supposedly you know, a media type from the US. So it's going to be their perspective once they start working on the British side. So let's give that a thumbs up and let's dig in, and it's going to be fun to check it out. Okay, now let's see. Uh-oh. I think I'm getting my slides out of order. So let's see where I am. Let's see where we are. Okay. So, as always, we did have an opportunity to just quickly, and I won't stay with this very long. we had a moment to just see really quickly on some of the YouTube um, periodically tables, right, in some of their spaces, that as always, the carriers of negative information about Harry and Meghan, they're still working. They still have an opportunity to show up on television, read a monologue of negativity, um, give their perspective of things they know nothing about, talk about events that they did not attend. Okay, speak on the reaction of Americans when they know absolutely nothing about Americans, right? But they are constantly telling the UK public that we Americans dislike Harry and Meghan. And my assumption for these people feeling that they need to say that is because they understand that we Americans, in a sense, we lead the world in a lot of trends, right? We are very good at leading the world in our mindset of trending. And so I believe they feel that if they announce every day that Americans dislike Harry and Meghan, and they feel like they can come on their own television shows, UK tabloid media, news spaces, and they tell us who we should vote for as our president, right? They want to imply to the rest of the world that we Americans think certain things and that we believe certain things, but they absolutely have no knowledge of. So it is very obvious to me, because I am an American, I'm extremely aware that they are selling a perspective of America that is not the overall perspective of America. They simply do not know America. They are basically feeding their folks a fake image, a fake possibility. And I must say, their work is insidious, but it is extremely effective. Unfortunately, it is extremely effective because you will find people daily that tend to believe what these naysayers are talking about. And it never occurs to them that this stuff is made up and totally based on zero facts, right? They will see Harry and Meghan in a crowd, and they've placed a plant in a crowd, or one reporter in a crowd, or someone to take photographs and to yell out something stupid. But then they will report it as if everyone was doing this to Harry and Meghan, right? Now, the royal family in the UK can barely ride down the street without major protests in front of them, right? And they're often getting booed in various public forums, but they're not reporting that. These same personalities, they're not talking about that at all. So we have to stay vigilant and constantly remind ourselves that what these people are saying is not true. Now, I know some people engage with them and make negative comments on their feed. You can do that sometimes, I think, maybe. It's not a bad idea. But what we do not want to do is to push them up, right? We don't want to add to their numbers, which is how much of this environment works. Instead, they get thousands of responses and thousands of people watching. But a channel like mine, it takes a long time to build up, right? Because it's just a very generic channel. And they also use very nefarious means to do that as well. But that's what they do. So these featured personalities, they still tell their lies for money because it is their job to ride on the back of Harry and Meghan, to ride on the back of this particular family situation, this family dynamic. and to continue to ride, hoping that it will pay off. And what I think is happening, although I can't be certain, but I think what's happening is that there is a level of fatigue with them, even in the UK. I believe that there is a layer that is spilling out that is absolutely beginning to grow tired of how grotesque their constant badgering of Harry is. Because just recently, there was yet another individual. Now, this again is a person who is not a huge personality, but it was a young lady on TikTok. And this young lady on TikTok um, was simply writing information about her family. She was basically explaining that she was basically explaining that she had a family member that was experiencing some illnesses and some sickness. And so she had made some commentary about the type of thing they had suffered from a stroke and yada, yada, yada. And then I guess the individual was going to have, like, you know how people do crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, maybe if people want to donate to help out. And this is quite intricate, so I don't want to try to explain in total detail. And I have noticed that another YouTuber is actually speaking more in depth on the subject, and I believe it's the Duchess of Success, and her channel is very detailed and very large. She does fantastic, fun stuff. But she's going to talk about this as well. But this particular person, I had received a message to say, "Hey, um, can I talk about this same thing or promote this information that you have, a little bit more?" And they were a writer, I believe, also for the Daily Mail, I think, or Sun, one of those featured UK tabloids. So, long story short, she allows them the permission to use her information, to use the story, thinking that what they were going to do is basically give the story a little bit more weight, which meant it would have gotten a little bit more traction, and perhaps more people would have been able to assist if they wanted to. So that was like talking about a family member being ill, but they needed help, support, stuff like that. But instead, they took the material and they printed an article that basically was highlighting her as some sort of nefarious scam artist trying to do something to manipulate people to donate money. And she was horrified because that's not what she was talking about. It's not the article that she was interested in putting out there. It wasn't the slant of the information that she was given this impression was going to be given. And then when she tried to get in touch with them to retract the information or take it back, all of a sudden, silence. She was met with silence. So now you have another individual, of course, just like Harry with his lawsuits. There are lots of people. Harry is just a person in the forefront who happens to have a huge name and a huge platform. But as you can see from this young lady speaking about this on her site, there are a number of people who are experiencing all of these things coming from the media spaces. That there are now people who journalism is not their endeavor, it's simply money making. They're not interested in actually telling stories, they're not interested in sharing information that is true or real. They're only interested in saying something or telling a story or writing a story that they believe will earn them click money. And that is what is happening. And I think it is fantastic that Harry is the face of fighting against that. I know it's difficult. We all know that it's an uphill battle. But when you begin with all the lies that they have compiled, and then the fact that they take those lies and scramble them up to present some type of storyline or narrative, and the only reason they're putting it out in the public is for consumption and for payment. And they do not care who it hurts. They do not care who is harmed by what they do. Just like this young lady talking about a family member, this person who printed that story and turned it inside out, they have absolutely no idea what effect that might have on her or the person that she was speaking about. They have no idea what family dynamic they could be causing, and they do not care. To this individual, it was probably worth a couple $100 a month, so they're going to do it. And that's a sad, sad state of affairs. So I tell you what, I'm going to stay behind Harry and Meghan in their fight, right? It's a constant fight. It's a never-ending battle, but I'm going to stay behind them in that fight, because these creatures of the media space, they are brutal and they are cruel. And for whatever reason, they cannot be extracted permanently from their spaces. As a matter of fact, I even saw Dan Wooten one more time showing up in a featured space. I was like, why is he back on the air? Even if it's YouTube, why? Okay, but yet there he was. All right, guys, now we're going to bring it back up. All right. So I want to thank you all again. Thank you all again for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm going to flip over here one more time and see who did I miss. Did I miss anyone else? Let's see. I don't think I did. That's Joyce Anderson again. We just said good morning to Joyce Anderson, so we'll say it again. And then we have a good morning from April May. Thank you so much, April May, for being here. Good morning to you. And then she says hello to everyone. So I want to tell you guys, thank you all for being here. Thank you again for participating and supporting All for Success. Now, believe it or not, I'm actually going to wrap it up a little bit early. I won't be taking too much of your time, but I do always say I like to leave you with a verse that sometimes I find in the Bible. I am not here to preach to you, nor am I here to convert you. I don't want anyone to say, oh, she's trying to get us in a cult. I'm not doing that. But I do want to just give you some what I call food for thought, right? So for this time, I want to let you all know, I'm going to point you to James in the first chapter, and you get a chance to read through there. It's some fun things. James always had a very interesting, or at least the book itself has an interesting perspective on his time that he spent in the Bible, right? He's a character that spent time with Jesus in the Bible. So that's, if you're interested in that, you feel free to read the background. But the scripture itself is just what I want to say is definitely keep your faith and stay strong. So remember this. You need to consider it a joy. It's very hard. I do not like, hey, whenever I have to do something that I do not want to do, right? It takes every ounce to try to force myself to do this thing I do not want to do, whether it's a work type of thing or school type of thing, or even an exercise type of thing. But listen, here's what they're saying. Consider it a joy. Try to consider it a joy, my brothers and sisters, that whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing, you're being tested, right? That if you get through it, it will help produce perseverance. And don't we need perseverance, folks? Yes, we do. So they say, let perseverance finish its work so that you may become, that you may be mature and complete and not lacking in anything. And that is so, we definitely have to keep that to our heart, right? When you're facing these trials and these tough times, and these things are just coming at us, trust me, just like in the view of what the family Sussex is dealing with, they must at all times, not that you're not going to have bad days, because you are, not that you're not going to feel a little bit listless, because we will. But the key is that you stay true to your faith. It will produce perseverance. So let's try to finish the work, but it is continuous. So I wanted to say that and put that out there because I hope that that will help keep you to keep your faith. And then lastly, as I wrap up, I always remind you guys to protect your mind from being captured. Don't let people take over your mind. Don't let people reach in and squeeze your brain. Always analyze what you're seeing, analyze what you're looking at, analyze what you're watching. It's not that you have to be a non believer of everything, but you should always look at things from the perspective of, what am I actually seeing? What am I looking at? Versus, what is it that this person or media or movie, right, or form of entertainment, what is this distraction trying to force me to look at? And that's important. Always keep in mind that when it comes to UK media, for sure, tabloid media, entertainment, definitely, right? Anything propaganda, just keep in mind and pay attention and ask yourself, what are they trying to make me look at? Always ask that question, because if you're looking at it and someone is trying to force you to look at it, you really need to protect your mind from it. You don't need to absorb it. So, with that being said, we're about to wrap it all up. And thank you guys for being here once again. I'm going to give you all a round of applause. Thank you for showing up. And I was a little bit quick. So, we're going to say, have a great day. Get out there, get your exercise in. And once again, thank you for being here at All for Success. And now we got to do things that we probably don't want to do. All right, let's get at it.